Hey guys, this is UltimaDJS. I am coming to you today with a review of sorts about my time in the world of Hollow Knight. Now, Hollow Knight is a fantastic game. It is amazing. And I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about the things that I liked, some of the things that I didn't like, and some of my hopes and expectations for the future of this fantastic game. And I know that it doesn't really mean that much coming from a guy who has literally never played the game before, but this is a fresh perspective. I'm somebody who, throughout my whole life, I have played nothing but easy games. I have played Mario, I have played Zelda, I have played just renditions across that genre of game, the Marios, the Zeldas, the Harry Potters, the Lego series, stuff like that. Lots and lots of easy games that required little to no technical acumen at all in the realm of gaming. And I used to consider myself pretty good. I used to consider myself as a very good gamer, one who could, if I wanted to, actually push the bounds of my capacities and resolve pretty much any game that I decided that I wanted to finish. But, I mean, it was always just the easy games, the casual games. Most recently, I found myself enjoying along the veins of the Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and that's just really the kind of games that I used to play a whole lot of. And really, Hollow Knight was a wonderful break from that. It was kind of an amazing separation. Now, my journey into Hollow Nest actually started about a year ago when I picked up really the first actually difficult game that I was going to play, and that was Elden Ring. Now, I have, of course, played and beaten a whole bunch of games in my lifetime. Like, tons and tons of games. Once again, most of them in the casual genre. Nothing very difficult, nothing very technical. And yet, when I picked up Elden Ring, and I saw the beauty and the enjoyment that I got out of that huge, difficult challenge, then I needed more. Like, I wanted more of that, something more fulfilling. It's kind of like the difference between having a snack versus having a meal. And all of these casual games are good snacks, and kind of like you can go to McDonald's pretty much every day, and you can find something there that you enjoy. But eventually, you're going to want a meal. You're going to want some sort of feast. You're going to want something with substance. And that's what Elden Ring kind of revealed for me. And from Elden Ring, I started wondering, what other games could I be missing? What other difficult technical games could I be missing? Even games that could have been difficult or technical, such as Horizon Zero Dawn or the Darksiders games, I never played on their hardest difficulties. I would always play on the easy difficulties just because I wanted a casual gaming experience, not realizing that what I truly wanted was a gaming experience. And that started with Elden Ring. And so that continued on until I finished Dark Souls 1. I'm working through Dark Souls 2, and then of course I heard about this game. Now, I have heard of Hollow Knight before. In fact, I even had it in my Steam library from a while ago when it was part of some sort of Steam sale, and I picked up several games, most of which I haven't even looked at, but you would probably know of, such as Half-Life and some of the other games that are along that vein. Along with that sale, I also picked up Hollow Knight. It was mostly positive and stuff like that. But I never actually got around to playing it until I started playing it here. And my goodness, this game is amazing. The world is amazing. The art is amazing. The gameplay is fantastic. As far as like 2D action adventure type, mystery, I guess, type games go, then I think that this falls in line with my absolute favorite of all time. Like, it really is one of the best, like, side-scrolling, platforming, whatever kind of genre this is, indie game, that I have ever played. And I think that there's a lot of reasons for that. And I'll get into some of the things that I just really, really liked about Hollow Knight. And then I'm going to go into some of the things that maybe I think could have been a lot better. And spoiler alert, there's not a lot. Like, there's barely anything. More like nitpicky things than anything. But first of all, one of the things that I absolutely loved about Hollow Knight was the artwork. Like, there is so much care and dedication put into every character, every background, every lore tablet, every interaction. There is so much there in the artwork. The attacks are so satisfying. The boss fights have weight to them. They're heavy. You have great little, like, kind of voice thingies. Like, it's not really voice acting, but kind of like this little gibberish that kind of transports you into this different world. And that is one of the biggest aspects. It's not the most important aspect, but that is one of the biggest aspects that I look for in games that I enjoy. Is the artwork mesmerizing? When you play it, do you enjoy watching it? Like, and this is a game that you enjoy watching. Even if you didn't know that there was somebody behind the screen controlling the character, you would enjoy watching this particular game as though it were a show or a movie or whatnot, simply because the artwork is so amazing. Every different region has subtle little differences. Like, it connects all together, but you know that you're in a different region. Like, I think the sole exception being the Hive. And that's really the sole exception that I can think of something that seems just a little bit out of place, but even then, not by much, you know. And the rest of it, like, it all has this cohesivity to each other, where you feel like you are part of this decaying world, that you have to explore what it is that is causing this general decay in this world. And on the way, of course, learn about kind of your origins, learn about what prompted you to arrive into this area. So the artwork, the cohesivity of the artwork, and as well those little subtle differences here and there, make it so that the game is just a pleasure to watch. Now, along with that, the music. Like, nothing will transport you deeper into a world than music itself. Now, one of the absolute best tracks that I love about this game is the music in the City of Tears. And I love it because it's somber. It's kind of stormy, of course, but it's peaceful. It's like a kingdom at rest, yet a tragic rest. It's kind of like Prince Philip coming after Sleeping Beauty after the kingdom's been eroded with thorns for 100 years. And I'm talking about the actual, like, Sleeping Beauty, not so much the Disney film, but, you know, the basis is kind of there. But the kingdom at rest, where everyone was asleep and everybody just kind of was in this state of waiting for something to change their fate. And that's where your character comes in. And that's what the music really got to me inside that area. It is so peaceful, but so haunting. The sound, the kind of piano, I call it a piano chase, where you have several keys that just kind of play in quick succession over and over again, and then you move up or down chords or whatnot. but it's like this particular rhythm, this melody that it lends to that idea of a kingdom at rest after tragedy. Something happened to this kingdom, and you got to find out what on earth it is. And you don't know if you're ever going to find it out. You don't know what it is about this kingdom that you're suddenly here fighting these bosses. You're suddenly here with these creatures that are attacking you every which way. Why are they attacking you? What's with this orange stuff that comes out of them every time you defeat them? Like, what is it with the few bugs here and there, like Lem and the Nailsmith, and all of these other characters that are there and seem to have some sort of impact on events, but don't really, like, they have nothing to do with that kingdom, with the downfall of the kingdom. And I think that one of the most interesting things is like Quirrell's explanation when he's talking about the City of Tears and whatnot. And it really lends to this idea, this mystery, and the fact that this city itself is crying, and you feel that in the music. So not only is the artwork fantastic, but the music, it transports you to this other realm, and it's fantastic, and it's amazing, and I love it. I also really enjoy the combat system. Who would have thought that something so simple, something as simple as just basically jumping and swinging a sword, would ever have been as satisfying? Your movement all has a purpose, and there is such a fine degree of control to your movements, and you can tell the fineness of the control to your movements in places like the Path of Pain, where you're pretty much having to control very delicately wherever you're going, your movements that you have obtained up to that point. And so the combat system, it feels right. The movement of the sword is quick enough. Like, you feel like it is the proper speed for your character. And I don't know how else to describe that. But it is fantastic when you just start pogoing and it feels so natural. That feels like a mechanic that is going to carry you throughout the whole game, and it does. And then, of course, there are several areas that I came to, and like at the very beginning of my playthrough, I'm like, well, there's got to be a double jump or something. There's got to be like maybe an upwards dash, I don't know. But there's got to be some way to get to these areas, because the movement lends to that. It feels like it would be right, and that's what they added into it. And that, it takes a special level of cognizance for developers to be able to see something like that and be like, how do we fine-tune this into being something that is so weighted, so well placed, that feels so right and so balanced that whatever the player thinks that they are going to be able to do, that they will be able to do. I think that truly the only reason, and after I finished the game, then I started watching stuff on the game, and I learned about like any radiance and stuff like that, the impossible boss and all that. And I think that the only reason that people are able to not only create those bosses in a fun and playable way, but as well beat those kind of bosses, is because the movement system is so perfect that it lends to that the developers aren't taking away your movement possibilities by not allowing you to jump the way you feel you should be able to jump, or not allowing you to use your sword in a way that feels correct for your character. And that is an amazing level of dedication to such a simple system of basically swinging a nail and jumping. Now, of course, we do get a bit more complicated and technical with some of the arts, like the up B and the upwards area of attack, and the upwards and sidewards special, and then the nail arts and stuff like that. but you can literally, and I believe that most people must already do this, go throughout the whole game just using nail swipes and jumps. Like, I have no doubt in my mind that there are people who can literally go through this whole game never using their soul abilities. And I mean, of course, besides healing, but that is kind of a give and take type of thing. Which leads me on again to the next thing that I really love about this game is the story. Now, there is a few things that will make me absolutely love a video game beyond all reason. And the first and foremost is its playability. Is it fun to play? And that usually comes down to controls. Are its controls fun? And like I just came over, the controls for this are absolutely fun. And the next part is, what is the story like? Because I am a very story-driven person. I have a very good imagination, like a very good imagination. Now, you don't believe me? Go and watch some of my dream videos, where you'll see just exactly how my mind works when it's on its own. Just imagine the imagination from there. But the story of this game is told so well through such small means, through such really minor things, small little notes on charms, little lore tablets that have words here or there that you can piece together, the proximity of something to another, the way that something appears in the background. There is so much that you can gather in the story from just these minor, itty-bitty little details that it is amazing how they were able to fit so much idea into such minimalistic opportunities to give you the story. Now, you could go throughout this whole game, and never run into any little bit about the story, and never really read the charms besides learning what they do, never read the lore tablets, not really pay attention to any of the watchers, not dream nail anything or anything like that. And you would be none the wiser. You would just be playing a great game, fantastic game. But if you take the time to slow down and accumulate the lore and take in the settings and take in these ideas, it gives you such a profound depth of knowledge of the world that you're thrust into. And kudos and thanks very much to my subscribers that have helped me along with the lore. You know who you are. I really appreciate it. I always appreciate you subscribers that come in, help me out with the lore, detail things to me. It really is appreciated, especially because I have ADHD, and so my mind will make strange connections sometimes, and sometimes I'll miss things entirely that I probably wouldn't have missed otherwise. But you subscribers keep me on the right track, and I am very grateful for that. So a big shout out and a thank you to you guys. Really thank you. But when you learn the lore of this game, it absolutely transports your imagination to a whole other realm of thinking. When everything starts being taken into context, why is it done this way? How was it done this way? And then I sat there and I watched kind of an interview with Team Cherry, and I find it absolutely amazing that such a small team created such a fantastic game that really, it blows me away. It absolutely is stunning to me that such a small team could make something like this. But they're like, well, we don't really want to say anything that will be taken as official doctrine or official lore, because it kind of stops people's imaginations. And what a wonderful way to build up your game. Let those that play your game come up with the ideas, come up with the lore, you have an idea, of course, when you're writing it as to what the general story is going to be. But a lot of times you don't think anywhere near as deeply into it as the people who are going to play your game. And sometimes they come up with some of the most amazing, wonderful ideas about how the lore all fits together. And this was something that J.K. Rowling even spoke to when she was saying that, or when she was talking about Harry Potter and their conspiracy theories for Harry Potter. And she's like, oh, I absolutely love the idea of Ron as Dumbledore. It's a wonderful thing. And it's like, yeah, you build up this world yourself and you have a particular idea of the story, but then people who want to build on it are gonna build on it. And the fact that you have lent your story and your, like, the way that you gather the lore in such a well implemented way that it doesn't impede on another person's imagination of this world that they're getting themselves into is on another level of intellect. Like, the intelligence behind that particular level of dedication to your craft is just absolutely beyond words in my mind. Like, I cannot say enough good about the way that they have handled that. And I myself, I dabble in writing, and I have a book that I'm writing, and it's of course an imaginative one. It's a fantasy mystery, stuff like that. But you want to see any of my work, you can go onto fanfiction.net and look up UltimaDJS, and you'll find some of the other stuff that I write. Again, I don't write any of the pornographic or inappropriate type of fan fiction. I don't play games like that either. It's just not my style. I don't like that stuff. So, but the whole point being is that when I write, and this is something that I actually mentioned in one of the things that I wrote for fanfiction.net, is the fact that, I want people to be able to fill in the gaps themselves. Like, if I say, hey, they wandered through the marketplace, you're going to imagine a marketplace. You're going to imagine the sights and the smells of whatever you would consider to be a marketplace. But if I sat there and I broke it down into heavy detail, like somebody like J.R.R. Tolkien, when he wrote in extreme detail, then you imagine what J.R.R. Tolkien wanted you to imagine, because he's writing it all out in incredible depth. But when you're reading something like J.K. Rowling, when you're reading my works, when you're playing games like this, like Hollow Knight, then the story is one where your imagination is able to fill in much of the gaps. Now, of course, there is that main story, and you don't really go outside of the lore that is included in the game. But with such a loose field for interpretation, then you can obviously, there is so much that you can do there. There's so much that is available to you to really build your own world. And that is absolutely amazing. I am going to make a video on the bosses and kind of like my ranking of the bosses and whatnot in Hollow Knight. So be sure to pay attention for that in the future. But when it comes to the boss battles were of perfect difficulty for me. They were the perfect blend of technical, difficult, and fun. Once you learned their moveset, you still have to get good at the timing. There is still very small windows for you to act and react when it comes to the boss fights. But in general, is just an amazing time with the bosses. And I'll have a full-on video with all of the bosses in Hollow Knight, along with my reactions to them and my thoughts on them and my ranking for them. I want to do a ranking of the bosses as a noob coming into this particular world and kind of describing this world. So, but other than that, I'm going to move on from this and say just a couple of the things that I think could have been done a little bit better. And like I said, these are all more nitpicky. Like, honestly, the game is a masterpiece. And to really find any sort of constructive criticism in such a masterpiece is a really difficult thing to do, especially when the game is so good and so well thought out and so well put together. Like, it is difficult. But there are a few things that in my playthrough, I feel that could have been done just a little bit better. And the first of that is health bars, right? It doesn't take much to put a health bar on the mod. There's a whole mod. I installed the mod to put the health bars on the bosses, but I don't like installing mods. I want it to be part of the base game. And the reason why I say health bars is because I want to be able to gauge how good I'm doing. It also plays into the tactics of the bosses that I'm fighting. If I am fighting a boss where I am consistently getting it down to like the last few hits, then I know I want to take more risks on that boss so that I can finally get them all the way down. If I'm not even getting close, then I know that I want to play it a lot more safely than I am. And this is, of course, coming from a noob. You know, I never played the game before. It was difficult for me to gauge exactly how successful I was being with the bosses. And when you're not able to gauge your success with the bosses, you're not able to gauge how well you're playing. And so that was kind of my hang up with that, I just need health bars. So make it so that, and you can do it in a really simplistic way. Even Dark Souls health bars, boss health bars, are super simple. Like, nothing complex at all. But just have some sort of health bar there that fits in with the world. Even if it's a charm, even if it's something, then yeah, absolutely. Just that small thing there really was one of the biggest, and you know, that's saying something. That's one of the biggest complaints that I have. So imagine how small the other ones are. Another complaint that I have is the map is great. It is really easy to navigate. I understand that. But having to dedicate a charm slot to having the compass enabled it's a little excessive in my books. Like, as this hollow creature, the knight, as he goes through this world, he should become more and more aware of where exactly he is on these maps. And so I would think that it would be very easy to just, after a certain amount of playtime, maybe 5 hours, maybe 6 hours, then the knight just is able to get his position pretty well and you're able to see it on the map. Again, another small complaint. Didn't even really have a problem. That one does have a charm that you can address it with, so it's not like it's this whole huge thing. I just think that it should be more base ability and not something that you have to equip, you know? It just seems a little bit excessive, especially for the type of character that you're building the knight up to be. And then finally, the last, I guess, issue that I have, Deep Nest has a few too many spiders. And I would very much appreciate it if in future releases, in which you seem to care for spider-like entities, you limit that. So, yeah, good talk here. Yeah, I expect kind of that sort of thing in the future. Thank you. Anyway, but those are really the only complaints that I have. And like I said, that's really nothing. It's not going to stop me from ever playing the game. It's like, that's not even something that's going to stop anyone from playing the game. When the rest of the game is so fantastic. It is so amazing. And really, I am going to be playing this game probably for the rest of time. Not so much on this channel like dedicated like I have been over the last month and a half or so with these videos, but definitely you will be seeing more you will be seeing more of this journey as I continue to fight through the pantheons and the gods of Hollownest and all that. So look out for those as well. One of the final things that I actually wanted to talk about was the future that I see for Hollow Knight. And really, like with what I'm seeing for Silksong, I love it. I absolutely hope that they fulfill all of the ideas that we're seeing for Silksong. And I am so excited to be playing that, and I am going to be streaming that. I'm going to be putting that on videos on this channel. Of course, as soon as it comes out, it's already in my wish list. The moment I have the opportunity to buy it, that's going to be the moment that I buy it. So I hope that really, in my opinion, my hope for this game, this upcoming Silksong game, is that they don't take away any of these satisfying mechanics. Like, don't take away the pogo or the nail swings and stuff like that. Don't take away the weight of your battles and stuff like that. Just leave that there. And the artwork and the music and the world building, the lore and stuff like that, just leave it as it is. Like, I would love for this upcoming game to be a more or less a different area, zone, or whatnot of basically this base game, the Hollow Knight. I know that it started out as DLC, and I really hope that you feel the same way in that game as you feel when you play Hollow Knight. Anyway, so this is kind of just my noobish view on this game, my personal take on the game, and what I loved about it, some of the things that I thought could improve, and just really my general thoughts. I hope that you really enjoyed watching, and I hope that you continue to watch for more content. I love having you guys, love the community that we're building here, and I really consider all of you as important to this channel as any of the videos that I create. Anyway, thank you guys so much, and I'll talk to you later.